Boy, did I screw up. Have you ever said that to yourself? Who hasn't? Hi, I'm Tom Justin, and for your delight and entertainment, I'd like to list all of the screw ups of my life right here and right now. Unfortunately, there's not enough bandwidth on the internet to handle it all, so maybe just a few things. But believe me, a lot of those things would be funny and some of them tragic, and the rest of them would probably follow with you saying to me, Tom, what were you thinking? I've missed so many boats in my life, they started naming piers after me. Oh, but the ones I caught, what a ride. That's a quote from a talk I gave several years ago, and it got a big laugh. But since then, quite a few people said it made them think about their regrets and reassess their current situations. This is a lot about me here, but I hope it's also a lot about you and maybe creating a rethink or two about life. I never opted for a safe life. I was married and divorced once with no kids. I never remarried, but I came close again. In retrospect, I think I didn't want to subject anyone I loved to a life as crazy as mine has been. You can read Tom's crazy bio for proof. You may have read previous posts of my foray into show business where I did many different things. One of them was a radio show that I was attempting to syndicate through an amazing series of events and coincidences. I was not only able to get on almost every studio lot in LA, which gave me access to some of the biggest stars of that time, but when I saw them on the sets, I asked them for interviews, and I got most of them too. The biggest was John Wayne, who is still considered, in some quarters, arguably, the greatest movie star of all time. It took a lot to get my interview with him, another long and funny story, but I finally did. And he apologized for keeping me waiting, even though I'd crashed a meeting that he told me I couldn't attend. He fixed me coffee instead of asking his assistant to do it. I mean, he brewed the coffee right in front of me. And he was still in the meeting that I was crashing. And he later invited me into his office where we did our interview. And then, to my amazement, he ordered lunch for us, just the two of us, the biggest movie star in the world and me. What he couldn't have known, and what I kept to myself for years, was at the time I was living in my car. The night before, I'd pulled into a darkened Hollywood parking lot and slept as best I could. I was 22 years old. Several days earlier, when bedding down for the night, I looked at my old beat-up Pontiac with all my belongings in the back seat and the trunk, and I thought, boy, did I screw up. But the Wayne interview got me the funding I needed to market and sell the show and get me into a decent living situation. The John Wayne interview also later brought me to working with seven-time Academy Award-winning director John Ford, who was the one who discovered John Wayne. I was an associate producer on a documentary that Wayne narrated and Ford directed, which was the last project of Admiral Ford's legendary life. My screw-ups led me to lots of good things, but of course, I didn't know it at the time. Do we ever? Where did you screw up that led you to something wonderful? If you think back, you'll find several examples, and this process is really an important exercise for all of us to think about. I made a wrong turn once and met the right person. Another article you might have seen. That screw-up led me to over $30,000 in consulting fees. You may know about my work in intuition, and we all have it, and we can all develop it to much deeper levels. Intuition was the reason I could successfully coach some of the stars I worked with, even though my life was screwed up and I was so young. Intuition, that inner wisdom we have, kicked in and was helpful to them. In fact, I later taught a course on it at UCLA's Experimental College. It's that powerful. Before I had much life experience, I was able to work with high-level corporate executives on serious business and personal issues, and I was as amazed as anyone, especially then when I was so young and a college dropout. Please understand this. I am not advocating screwing up as a positive life event. It's not a requirement for success, and if it were, I'd be far more successful at this point in my life. What I've always valued more than money was the experience. I made and lost a lot, but usually the experiences were well worth it and great learning experiences for me. This is not positive thinking in its mindless form. It's positive realizations that after something bad has happened, you can't go back, but you can learn from it. Some I did, some I didn't. What kept me going more than almost anything else was my ability to take the no's of life, the rejections, and keep going. In fact, for years, one of my most popular speeches was how to take no for an answer and still succeed. In fact, it eventually became an Amazon bestseller, maybe for, I don't know, 20 seconds, but it was there. So those no's, rejections, and failures had a payoff eventually. If you had tried everything, you would have solved the problem. There is always a way. There is always a way. There is absolutely always a way. After years of coaching, consulting, speaking, writing in the field of personal and business development, I can say this for sure. We are all imperfect human beings. But there are times when we are perfect for other human beings. Your very presence and sometimes your words will happen for another person at the perfect time that is life-changing for them. Occasionally, I'll write something on the spur of the moment because I get a sense that there is one person who needs to see this now. This is one of those times. It might be you. It might be me. When someone tried to put me on a pedestal or think of me as a guru, I fled. I just wanted to do what I was doing, helping others and myself along the way, and mostly and quite selfishly to enjoy the ride. After surviving car, motorcycle, and airplane wrecks, colorectal cancer, divorce, financial collapses, depression, and a few other things, I can claim a life experience. Anyway, who can't? Well, you see Tom's crazy bio for some of that stuff. Every one of those events was a personal screw up along the way. Whenever I'm on stage in front of a few or thousands, I feel connected to the individual power that is in each and every one of you, within each of us. Then, when I work in close collaboration, one-on-one with a client, there is a mind merge that is so powerful it's almost overwhelming. Just that realization of the untapped power of another person and how they can unleash it inspires me. Recently, a former client said that I'd saved her life. She'd been considering suicide, which I didn't know at the time. I just knew that there was a serious problem beyond what she'd described to me. She said that I'd told her something that even now seems innocuous. But it had great meaning for her, and it was a shift that elevated her beyond where she thought she could go. I told her one of my screw-up stories. My ego loves it when I'm told that I changed a life or even made it better. But my humanity and humility could not be more impacted to hear that something so simple could save a life. You have that same thing within you. Use it. Because it's your action, inspired or not, that will change your life. It's worth seeking the motivation and inspiration that will help that. In the end, it's all about our decisions. It's all about being wrong until we can be right. Even when a decision leads to a screw-up, it's not the end. It's another beginning. We can't judge any situation. We can only find the ways to improve them, and there is always a way. Here's what you and I share. Inspired wisdom. We hold back sometimes because we think, who am I to say this or to do this? If you don't know what to say what's in your heart. You are an inspired and extraordinary being. I sincerely believe that, because if you weren't, you would not still be reading or listening to this. Let's keep doing that survival thing. Let me know how that's working for you, because eventually we get to thrive. Thank you for listening. I'm Tom Justin, and you can reach me at tj@tomjustin.com if you want to email me. If you have any questions, thoughts, inspirations, something you'd like to share with me or others, we'd love to hear from you. And my website is, my coaching site is at tomjustin.com, and you can go there and take a look at what I do. Coaching slots are filled on a first-come, first-served basis, so please check for availability. I really appreciate you being here and listening to this. If you can think of anyone who could use this information, please send it to them. The links are below or somewhere on this page, the link that you got. Let them know. If it impacted you, let me know. Let's change some lives. We can do it together. I'm Tom Justin. Thanks.